Hi, everybody. This is our second session on centering the SDGs, and we are hearing youth voices. So I will keep quiet, and we will have our very talented youth from Plainedge High School present their work. They've been working with Mr. Will Bertolotti, and he will be taking over, soon and having a discussion with all of us. So over to Alicia and Julia for their fantastic research.
Thank you. High levels of carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases contribute to the many environmental issues that we face today. Recent evidence shows that global warming, ocean acidification, and climate-related disease and mortality rates have increased. Residents of poverty-stricken countries like Haiti, Timor-Leste, and Somalia are feeling the consequences of climate change and are more vulnerable to the effects because of their lack of financial resources. Tropical storms, landslides, drought, and starvation are all expected to hit these countries and others, leaving their communities with food and water scarcity, withered crops, and disease. Data retrieved from the Lancel Commission's Managing the Health Effects of Climate Change supports the claim that climate change effects on health can expand the economic disparity between the rich and poor even further. The United States, too, has started to suffer significant ramifications of climate change, with low income and racial or ethnic populations being hit the hardest. Approximately 166 million Americans are living in areas that have unhealthy levels of air pollution. Scientists suspect that respiratory and heart disease, cancer, and organ damage are more likely to occur to people in these areas. With this being said, it is imperative that an eco-friendly alternative to fossil fuels is found that has a possibility to reverse some of the repercussions of climate change. Algal biofuels offer a plethora of restorative remedies for the wounded planet humans call home. They have the ability to sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through the process of photosynthesis. And when dry algal biomass is burned, it releases more oxygen and less carbon dioxide than current fossil fuels. Research shows that 1 kilo of algae uses 1.87 kilos of carbon dioxide a day, and 1 acre of algae uses 2.7 tons of carbon dioxide per day. Open ocean algal blooms, photobioreactors, algal turf scrubbing, and bicaps, also known as bicarbonate-based integrated carbon capture and algae production system, are all methods of algae cultivation that have promise for the future of algae and biofuels. Open ocean algal blooms and photobioreactors can sustain high concentrations of algae in small areas and have the largest output of all the processes. Both techniques have high levels of carbon dioxide intake. Chlorophyceae, a class of algae, can be of benefit technologically, proving sufficient for the industrial production of hydrogen gas because of its ability to release water using solar energy. It can also be utilized as an electric power source. There are 3 types of products that can be created from biofuels, including electrical and heat energy, transport fuel, and chemical feedstock. Further, biomass products can be produced by all land and water-based vegetation, including organic wastes, broadening the possibilities even more. According to Lillian Young, writing for the Spartan Newsroom, algae is 12 times more potent as a biofuel than leading crops like corn, soy, and switchgrass. Different parts of an algal bloom can be used to produce various products. Oil produced by specific strands of algal blooms can be extracted to create healthy omega-3 fatty acids for human expending. One study found that the percentage of omega-3s in microalgae is comparable to that of fish. Further, animal feed can be created by the high protein remnants found after the oil is consumed. Since our last presentation, we've revised and edited our review of literature and are nearing the finish line to publish it within the next few months. We are also beginning to purchase and harvest our own algal blooms, which will then lead us to reaching out to various laboratories across Long Island to collaborate in converting our algae to biofuels. We're very excited to see where this new research will take us and to see how successful our scientific research and experiment will be.
Congratulations. So I guess they've, at this point, I'm not sure, Julia, Alessia, are you able to hear us on your end?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you are. Perfect. Excellent. So maybe at this point, I was wondering, maybe would you like to discuss the current state of your review of literature? And then I'll try
Yeah,
to,
we can pull that up. We can pull that up and we can, yeah.
Well, we don't have access to it from our phone.
I could try
but-
on my end as maybe you describe
Yeah.
where we're at.
So far, Mr. B has been teaching us different methods of editing and revising our review of literature, which we hope we'll be able to publish in the next few weeks or month or so.
Which we are also going to reach out to our collaborators, our peers across the world in India that we were working with in the beginning of the year. And we're going to meet with them again and talk to them, make sure we're all on the same track so we can publish all of our review of literatures at the same time.
I'm ready to screen share. And maybe, I guess, as this is a collaboration, Julia, Alessia, as we look at the current edits, maybe you could walk us through some of the considerations you made for editing your own writing. And then on my end as the educator, my goal with our students has been, shaping their voice and shaping their ability to communicate research findings. So with regards to the form and the appearance of the review of literature, as well as the formatting suggestions that I've passed on to Julia and Alessia, if any of the educators out there have any suggestions as to the approach and content, we're all ears. All right, so let me share. And then, all right, Julia, Alessia.
It's a little small on our end, so if we can't, oh, okay, there we go. So basically, the way we started editing it, we've been trying to make it more clear and concise so that we just get the point across without, overcrowding it with too many stats or making it, confusing to read. So Mr. B has helped us to make it clear, concise. As you can see, we've added in some sentences.
We've included some figures as well to help really get the point across, to demonstrate what we're trying to prove in our research, how algal blooms can really be used as a great resource for biofuels as a renewable energy.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not quite finished with editing, but that's really our goal. That's what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks or month or so, just editing it, making it clear, moving things around, see where it fits.
And we also have 3 subtopics. We have, well, first we have our intro, and then we have algal blooms, just background on algal blooms. We have biofuels, backgrounds on biofuels, and we also have potential uses of algal blooms and biofuels, which also includes job opportunities generated by these biofuels,
Economic
benefits for the environment. We really went in depth with our research. And we also included, we have a Google Forms layout, not a Google Forms, I'm sorry, a Google Sheets, where we collected our data, where we have our citations, we have bullets, we have all of our information that we have written down on our doc. That's where we found our information.
Exactly.
And we've been working on this since, I would say we started around the beginning of the year. So since September, we've definitely been working on it a few months, working in collaboration with Mr. B. And actually recently, we discovered that we can purchase our own algae that we can harvest in the classroom, which is why I mentioned that we will reach out to various laboratories, which will help us convert our homegrown algae to biofuels with the help of them, obviously, because we can't do that in the classroom. But that'll be really interesting to even just see how the algae blooms in our school environment.
Yeah, and to learn the chemistry and the science behind converting the actual algae into a bio oil that's usable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're really excited to get this published. I know that our peers have been working on I think it was cow dung or an insect dung to turn into a renewable energy. So we're also excited to hear back on how much information they've collected, so we can really pool all of our information together and create one big study of research for the environment, for our sustainable development goals.
Mhm.
I'm so proud of you. This is, I had talking points and you checked off every single one, and then, just for scope, so Alessia and Julia are both high school freshmen. And, in this climate of learning loss, in this climate of challenges, the both of you composed this document, and you did this in addition to your workload as a student and as athletes. And I think what's incredible too is the spreadsheet that you mentioned. You've poured over dozens of articles, and like each individual article is challenging in and of itself. And you compiled them into a singular document with a focus. And once you're able to do that type of deductive reasoning, now you're expanding your focus and you're trying to figure out, what connections can we make with biofuels to the other scientific disciplines? And then, geographically, what connections can we make with other schools to collaborate with and partner with other schools across the world? And so for the both of you, it's incredible. Congratulations. And maybe on our end, as we move forward, the goal will be making this into a review of literature that, that goes beyond the high school level. So a review of literature that ultimately is publication worthy, as at the very least the basis for a legitimate scientific study. So thank you.
Thank you. And
Thank
also, I've also been thinking about, after we finish with this research, harvesting our own algae, even researching other species of algae and comparing which is more potent as a algal biofuel. So that's even something to think about far, far in the future, even just as a suggestion for anybody else working on research, just even comparing like previous species that we researched to newer ones, seeing which is more potent.
And especially looking at the state of geopolitics today, the need for these alternative fuel sources is very present. And I feel that, this is almost like, this is almost the time for research like this. How do we wean ourselves off from traditional energy sources? And how can we begin leveraging the sciences to look for these transition energy sources?
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
So
I just want to say, go ahead.
Oh, Chris, all you.
Oh, okay. I just want to say you guys did like an absolutely amazing job with everything. And I was just really amazing to see all the work you guys had done. And as someone who hasn't really done too much work or like really researched too much about biofuel, it's just really interesting. And I had a question, have you guys explored the like carbon footprint of, algal biofuels versus, other types? I think you guys mentioned like corn, or like you could use like canola or whatever you want. And also comparing that to like food waste, because I think that would be like a really interesting comparison, in addition to, what's going on in India with the animal poop. So.
Of course, and we actually have, during our research, we discovered that, we also mentioned this, that algae, instead of what's it called? Instead of releasing carbon dioxide, it actually takes it from the atmosphere, because it's a plant, so it needs carbon dioxide as its food.
And it releases more oxygen, which makes it better for aerobic organisms who obviously need it to live and breathe.
And this could also work in India because, like you said, the food crisis, this does not detract from the food supply, sorry. So there's still enough sufficiency of food for people to use without creating biofuels, taking away from that. So we have algal blooms that will be more potent, and it won't affect like food.
The environment.
Yes, exactly, and people.
It's such a perfect way of setting the stage for more people to get into this and get excited about the potential of biofuels. I think you've set the stage for many people going forward. And then also, I like the idea of doing something hands on, making it more live. So you will grow your algae and then see if a lab can actually convert it into biofuel. I think that will really complete the cycle. But I feel that you guys have already done so much. I got to know about all this, new information from your presentation and from the research work. So that's phenomenal. Just my question: what was the most, I guess, what is it that you really learned a lot during the entire process of this research? Anything that you want to share in terms of your benefits that you gained from doing this research on the topic?
I think it's just how much nature can give back to the environment, how much natural resources, instead of it being man-made, especially algae, how we can convert it, plants to benefit us and that won't hurt us. Because as Alessi said before, algae won't take away from the food supply. It lets out more oxygen and takes in carbon dioxide, which is really what we're needing, considering global warming, ozone depletion, and so on.
And also, this is actually a 2-in-1 because algae is extremely detrimental to our oceans, our lakes. You look around in Lake Michigan, all the Great Lakes, we see that algae is really just destroying the ecosystem up there. So it also solves a 2-in-1 because not only is it taking away the algae from the lakes, reviving it, we can also use that algae to create renewable energy that is better, more beneficial for our earth, for our ozone, for everything, for cleaner air.
Do you have any lab in mind or someone that you can get in touch with to see, maybe someone who's already done the lab work to see how you can collaborate? I don't know if there are.
Yeah, we actually attempted to reach out to Dr. Goes. We wanted to possibly use, we heard that he researched a specific species of algae. So we thought it might be interesting to utilize that species in our research project. But if that doesn't work out, again, we have our plan of harvesting the algae in the school environment, in the classroom, which would be really interesting.
And we were planning on reaching out to a laboratory near us in Cold Spring Harbor, where they even have stuff like camps over the summer for science and learning and hands-on. So we were thinking of reaching out, seeing what we can do, meeting with scientists and learning the science and the chemistry behind it.
Wow, looks like your summer is already planned and you are taking this course across summer, which is fantastic. So
yes,
know that it will extend apart from just your class.
Julia, Alessia, Will, I have a question. So from the educator standpoint, also, I just have to say, I am so impressed, freshmen, by the depth of your research and the breadth of it as well. So I'm wondering, when you started out your project, and I think I sat in on an early meeting and it sounded like you were going to go through a literature review. Did you start with the intent that you would turn your inquiry into an actual investigation where you would grow your own algae and then see it through the process of having it turn into an oil? Or did that kind of come up as you were digging through the research? The literature, rather.
It really came up as we were going through it, because in the beginning we were researching topics about what we can dig deeper into, write a review of literature for the environmental based projects. And so Alessia came across algae from biofuels, and so as we kept finding more information, we found, and we thought that we could try it ourselves and we could see if we can transform algae into an eco-friendly fuel source.
And we also really wanted to learn more about renewable energy, because we kept hearing renewable energy, but okay, what is that? Like, what are some sources? Because there's so many various types of renewable energy. So we actually, our teacher mentioned to us renewable energy from algal blooms, because we initially thought of renewable energy. He suggested algal blooms. So I actually found that really interesting, and I started digging deeper and deeper. And as we got more and more into our research, we actually became more and more intrigued. And so this is what led us to writing this super in-depth review of literature. We're actually very, very excited, very determined to finish this and publish it.
Outstanding. Yeah, outstanding work. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
the growing and the harvesting is going to just provide a whole nother probably publication, based on those findings too.
Yes, definitely.
One interesting thing I was thinking that when you look at algal biofuels, I think one major source of headwind for solar and wind has just been land use rights here in the United States. And I wonder whether or not maybe something for us to consider is when we look at the footprint of these types of biofuels, how would they compare with solar and wind, especially in areas where there definitely is a presence of a not my backyard kind of phenomenon.
So I actually, I was doing some research, and I actually found something that said that algal blooms can be cultivated in areas with dry lands. That's where the facilities can be built. That's where it will be harvested. And actually, I also researched that if the facility is near another facility that puts emits a lot of carbon dioxide into the air, it can sequester that carbon dioxide and use it for the algal blooms.
Yeah, but that's not the only way. There are some natural ways of producing algae where it can just be produced in whatever body of water that is present. It's called turf scrubbing and open ocean algal blooms. So it doesn't necessarily have to take up land or space like some places do, like some techniques and processes do. This could just happen wherever it's present, and it multiplies and grows very quickly. So it's not like we'd be.
And our next question is, these facilities, they need to run, so they need fuel. So we would also like to further research, how are these facilities running? Are they also running on other various types of renewable energy in order to create these algal biofuels? So that'll be very interesting to also go further in depth with.
It's incredible. This is the type of tenor that these two researchers have. They're always just bouncing ideas from each other. They're feeding off each other's energy, and it's an incredible level of momentum. And I think really that's a wonderful thing for our youth scientists to have, is just that energy, that optimism, and that attitude that, all right, we have a question, let's explore it and let's work.
Absolutely. I love the bias to action on this piece, that it was everything that you learned led to another research question, and then led ultimately to the possibility of a solution that may fly or probably will lead to 100 more questions, right? I have an overall question. So I came on the call thinking that, oh, okay, how far are they along? Would there be any way? I have a couple of interested students to support the work that you're doing. How far are you along? At this point, are you finished with your literature review, and you think you're moving now into the investigation piece of it, where you're going to grow and harvest and look into the production?
So as of now, we're in the stage of revising and editing it. We're looking at what piece of information will be more beneficial in certain parts. So definitely, if people have interest, we can definitely reach out to them, contact them.
Yeah, we're totally excited. We can collaborate with other people. We're totally open to that.
Yeah, so as of now, we're just editing it. And then for a little further down the line, we're going to look at algae and harvesting it ourselves, and then going to the labs. So I don't see it happening like tomorrow or next week, but if your students want to do that and we can compare, or other children, other kids, and that's what we can do.
And hopefully we can publish our review of literature by the end of this school year. And then by the latest to start harvesting our algae the beginning of next school year, but we're really aiming towards like the beginning of this school year. Our only concern is we're going to be gone for the summer, so we're not going to be able to keep a close eye on those algal blooms. So that's definitely something to think about, possibly starting in September or even now, because we can track it as we're editing, as we're revising, we can track them growing. And then that's when we can send it over to the labs over the summer, because we can stay in contact.
And there's definitely that creative tension where as we want to do everything now. And then the challenge is with a document like this, we have students and we're working with storytelling and communication. And here, to your credit, Alessia and Julia, you've put the brakes on and you said, we want to make sure that the message is clear and that the communication is clear. And I think that's a really important first step, is to make sure that our foundation is set. So maybe, I guess, is there a way then maybe interested students and interested schools might be willing to maybe examine the document and share comments on the document? Maybe we could secure feedback from other students. And then maybe from there, even use this as a launch point for opportunities to further develop the scope of the project, as well as opportunities to identify connection points between schools.
I think, that's such a great idea, because I think everyone can first learn from their research and see if their ideas, because everyone will come up with a different idea to see what they can do to further it. And maybe we might have a much bigger group. So if we can share that link with the Department of Education here in New Jersey, and also the schools that we are working in Telangana, India, I think that might be helpful just to explore. Maybe we will not get the feedback back, but I think they will at least read it and have their own thing going, or have their own ideas created. So I think that might be a good possibility, and I'm sure there might be others who might want to jump in. And if you can include your emails at the end of the paper, we can share the paper along with this video and an email, either Will's email or both of your emails. Then we can see what comes back.
Of course, we can do that. We can also share all the documents we use. Like I mentioned, we had a Google Sheets with all of our bullet points, all of our data, all of our citations that we use to write our review of literature. So we can share that. We can share the review of literature. We can share all of it.
I think let them come back with questions. Interested students will come back with questions, and it will be a nice way to have that discussion going. I don't want you to share all your data. I think it's yours and you've crafted this final, document. So maybe let them review the document. If they have ideas, they can come back, and then if they have specific questions, they can ask you. So really interested people will be back, because otherwise you will curate all of this and then you never know where it's going.
I'm wondering, Chris, I have a question for you in that vein, and Alessia and Julia, I think we would be interested in reading your work in the edit phase that it is now. Definitely we'd be open to providing input and feedback. I think what we would also potentially aim to do is to complement your work in some way. So if when reading we see that there's holes in there, or like opportunities to jump off and maybe take another vein. So for example, ExxonMobil is in our backyard here. And so I'm sure that they have a biofuel research group. And so I think I really like the idea of, our network is your network. And then together we maybe like expand the reach of the initial work that you've done, and then, contribute.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Ms. Freeman's point. I think the idea of just sharing a community is like a great thing. I'm in high school, but I used to be one of Ms. Freeman's students. So now that I'm in high school, I can share it with other kids that, in my opinion, that I think would be like interested. And if we keep, continuing that chain down, we can, further this. And yeah, of course, I'm also definitely welcome to providing like feedback on your literature review.
Thank you so much. We actually appreciate that because it is a long review of literature. So it's not going to be done in a day. So anything that you guys have to add, we're totally welcome, totally open. It's definitely a little bit confusing because there's a lot of comments, there's a lot of deletions, but you'll find your way, you'll understand it because it's not that difficult. So thank you so much. And we'll be sure to attach our email at the end of the review of literature. And even in the chat right now, we can attach your school email so that you guys can write it down, save it somewhere, email us, feel free.
Sounds great.
Just exceptional, Mr. Bertolotti and Julia and Alessia. Yes. Well done.
Go team. Maybe, we could use this as an opportunity to just build a little bit of momentum. That's it. And it's just great. It's just great to have this kind of chance for us to, at the very least, see each other and discuss a point or points that we have in common. And then just the fact that we're moving forward and creating a plan of action, I think is great. Is really great. And Chris, it's great to meet you. And if we do get to work with you, either through complementary projects and or maybe connecting with other interested students, whatever, however it goes, this has been a great experience.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I'm sorry I can't turn on my camera. I'm in the car right now, but yeah, it's great to meet all of y'all, and I hope that in the future we can just continue collaborating. So
I think as a first, this is our first Eco Ambassadors environmental discussion that's been hosted on a variety of devices and locations. We definitely, I think today was like a technology accomplishment too.
Oh my God, major. I think we have covered it all now. Technology, environment, green futures, everything under one umbrella. So that's great. Great. So I'll stop the recording here. Thank you. I think both of you did such a fabulous job of explaining your project. And again, it is such an inspiration. The process that you followed will lead to, many other ideas popping up and, coming together. I will definitely share your paper and then your email, and hopefully we will get back a lot of responses. I will also share it with our India group, which as you know, they are working on the biogas through cow dung. So they'll be able to get some more, at least background on what you've been able to do. But really appreciate you being here and taking the time to share your research with us. Thank you.
Of course, and thank you for your time. We've really enjoyed sharing our research with all of you and really enjoyed just going through the research process. And thank you, Mr. B, for really helping us with this project. And Radhika, of course.
Thank you.